Long day lay me low. Take two, everybody. Take two. I played the intro and I didn't hit the live button. Welcome, everybody, to Get to Know Your Creator. My guests got to hear my intro twice. Lucky them, because I know they're huge Pantera fans. Let's get started first off with, I know we've been away, so we're going to bring in my lovely co-host, Angela. What's going on, Angela?
Hello, Mike Jason. How are you doing today?
Oh, outstanding.
I was going to say, you're a little rusty there from the long break.
Yeah, that, and I'm an idiot, so they just go hand in hand.
It happens.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
It happens.
Yeah.
We've been, like you said, been away for a bit. Who knows if we'll do more or less. We'll never know. But I am excited today because we have on a great human, a wonderful man. I've known him for a bit, known him for a minute or two. He's a great human being. His name is John Hervey, everybody.
What's up?
Got John Hervey here. What's going on, man? Glad to have you.
It's good to be on.
Hello, Mr. Hervey.
Angela, Miss Angela. Man, I'm glad to be on, man. I know it's been a minute. I think we've all, at least I know I've been doing a lot of lifing and haven't been streaming as much as I had in the past.
See, I usually take that as like life, yes, but also people are working. Frega, he streams professionals and that's it because he's working. Like he's busy working and he has a family. Like you said, you got your family, you got your life. But dude, you've been working. I mean, you got Black Tiger, Hidden Dragon 2. You had all your other campaigns. I mean, what Magna, other Black Tiger campaign. I mean, you've been on the streams plenty of times before Red Valkyrie writing prose, and you and I got to know each other a little bit on that as well. So
yeah. That was a fun season when we were all doing writing pros, man. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't know if they plan on ever bringing it back. I know why they kind of put it on hiatus and then they started a different formula. I liked it. I thought it was fun, and it gave focus onto the writers because you get that hashtag just a writer. And, it's not just a writer. Like, without the writer, the comics wouldn't happen as well. So, yeah.
And that's all I got. So
that's all I got. Yeah, but you got a family, you got a life, and plus writing is not easy, dude. I mean, I did Absolute 1 and 2 and co-writing Frog. It's not easy, man. It's not just a writer. There's a lot of things that go involved, like formula and sentencing and prose, like how people talk, characterization. You got to think about everything. With us artists, we just got to draw the pretty pictures, like. So, I mean, it might take a little longer, but, we could be like, oh, well, their facial expression says it all. You guys got to actually pick out the right verbiage, and stuff to get that across. And that's not easy, dude.
Yeah, I think the whole process, though, I mean, it's like, when it's done well, it's like peanut butter and jelly, and, but the challenge is you want it to be additive. So you want, in our case, since we're the creators, we're creating these things and then we're scripting them or writing them. And if you're not your own artist, or even if you are your own artist, bring the pencils to the table. And it's like, okay, especially as a guy who's just a writer and I work with line artists, it's like, okay, I got to give the totality of my vision.
Right.
So I script fully. I don't script the Marvel way. I mean, I script out even by, what I want, panel to panel. But it's not because I'm trying to be a dictator, but it's just like, this is the vision. And then the penciler comes along and says, like, that's a crappy idea. That's a good one. I see what you're trying to do. And then they can go somewhere with that. They can say, I see what you're trying to do. Instead of framing it this way, let's frame it another way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, like you said, I always say, like ink spots and me, like we go together like spaghetti and mayonnaise. Like, I mean, like I joke about that, but you got to have that kind of a mashup, though. Like you say, peanut butter and jelly. Like, it's got to flow. If it doesn't flow, you know, it's gonna show in the end result, and it's just not gonna be as good of a campaign, good as a book and an overall product. We got some people hopping in the chat. We're gonna say hello to the chat real quick. People are here to see John, and we're gonna talk about Black Tiger, Hidden Dragon after a bit. But if you don't want to listen to us talk about it, link is pinned to the top of the chat as well as in the description below. Click it, back it, love it. Who we got in the chat, Angela? Are you there, Angela? Did everything just go south? You're muted. My co-host talks.
Oh no, my audio is being kind of weird, so I might have to back up for a sec. But we have the first one. Beyond Time is here.
That's John.
That's John. Me.
Yeah, that's John.
Well, good you're here. Thanks for coming and joining us. Paula Deer is in the house, and we have Boobdan.
Plego friend, welcome. Paula Deer and Boobdan.
And Paulus Arts is here too.
Yeah, thank you, Paulus Arts. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, share this out. Get eyes on John's campaign here.
Dan, I've been praying for you, brother. Been praying for you, brother.
Dude, Plago's a beast. He's a good dude, solid dude.
Yeah.
Things are looking positive. We're happy for him. And
right.
yes, he's in all of our thoughts. I always have the privilege to hang out with Dan, and we bow to you, sir. We love Plago. Plago's my friend.
That's my guy.
Yeah, dude, and like. People know Plago, people know you. You know what I mean? Like, you've been around since for a while now, a few years, you know, hopping in chats and on streams. And we used to hang out on, like we said earlier, writing prose on Red Valkyrie. We also had, we would hang out once in a while chilling on, remember White Cat Studios, Carla?
Yeah,
Carla. We would chill out over on Carla's streams and stuff. We had good times, man.
Absolutely.
How did you first get into, like, maybe writing comics? I don't know. Did you start with comics or did you start with other kind of prose?
I started with comics, but like not just writing. I mean, comics. That was my foundation for everything. I think if I didn't have comics as a kid, I wouldn't have even read. I mean, I started. My mom started buying me comics, and I know this is the Stone Ages for folks. Back when books were on spinner racks in like the drugstore.
Yep.
You know, I'd go to the drugstore with my mom, and she'd have, you know, she'd be doing her thing, and I would just go sit. The way the drugstore was set up, it was like a number of different sections, and you'd go down a set of stairs. So I'd go down to the gift section, and that's where the comics were.
Oh, nice.
And there was a spinner rack, and then there was two, and it's right next to the stairs. So I'd sit on the stairs, and I'd read comics while my mom was doing whatever it is she was doing.
Right.
And that's how I got introduced to comic books. So, I mean, it's like at the time, you know, I knew from cartoons. You know, I knew Spider-Man because they showed the 60s Spider-Man cartoon. They showed the Super Friends, but I never put together the fact that the Super Friends were the Justice League. So I'd be looking for like a Super Friends comic book. Couldn't find a Super Friends comic book, but you know, Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Spider-Man, and then there's a Hulk TV show. So I mean, like, I was picking up these comics and I was enjoying them, and you know, at the time they were like, I think around 30 cents, 35 cents is when they, you know, it was like a big deal. It's like, yeah, it's only 35 cents.
Right.
My mom would get me comics. And then one day I go to the spinner rack, and this was like one of those seminal moments. It's like I picked up, I want to say it was Avengers. I want to say it was 182. Nice. It had this giant Crusher Creel on the cover. He's holding Miss Marvel like he's King Kong. You know, so he's holding her in his hand, and like Iron Man's attacking, and the Beast, and the Vision. And I was like, oh, I know some of these characters. This stuff looks cool. So I'm going to pick up this book. A guy named Dave Michelini wrote it. So I read the book, and I must have read it the day I got it. I must have read it like 3 times.
Nice.
Like, so we're at the dinner table, and my mom is just like, put down the comic book and eat your dinner. You know, eat your string beans. And I'm just like, I look at my mom and I'm like, Mom, I'm now a comic book collector. And she's just like, that's good. Finish your string beans.
Yeah, finish your string. Yeah. Good for you, son. Can you eat your dinner now?
Finish your string beans.
You're a collector. I'm the one buying them. So eat your string beans.
Eat your string beans. And this was a different day and age. I mean, it's like, it was not cool to be a comic book collector back then.
Oh, yeah, no.
You know, I mean, kids. And that's why, like, I knew I was going into treacherous territory. I'd seen kids get beat up before, bringing comic books to school. you know, one of those things. Like one of my buddies, actually, he's a ref in UFC. His name is Herb Dean.
Oh, nice.
So I remember I saw Herb at the drugstore, and we were both over by the spinner rack, and we were both trying to kind of play it off, but we both had comic books in our hand. So we both discovered that we both read comics.
Right.
So it was like a secret society. There was no internet to find your people.
Right.
You know, you kind of stumbled across it. Like Herb, he was collecting Daredevil. So like I actually read that whole the Frank Miller series at his house. I remember sitting on him and his brother's bunk bed reading The Death of Elektra, and I was just like, oh my god.
That was a crazy time too. Like that book, that issue was controversial at the time. Everybody couldn't believe it. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
She's crawling through the streets of New York, and I'm like, what the? This is crazy. And that's the kind of impact that comics, you know, had on like me and my friends. I remember we were on a school trip. We were in middle school. We're on a school trip to New York. And one of the things I remember about that is another buddy of mine named John. He picked up Alpha Flight. Mm-hmm. And I love, you know, I'm a John Byrne guy anyway.
Nice.
And he picked up, he read it, and like he wouldn't tell any of us what happened. He's like, you got to read it. And it's the one where Vindicator died.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He blew up. It's like, I remember two things about my trip to New York: the comic book where Vindicator died, and Marvin Gaye died during that trip. And I think
that's crazy.
I was just like, man, Vindicator and Marvin Gaye. Oh my gosh, this is
one of them real life, the other one, but still same impact. You know what I mean?
Same
like
impact.
At least for you, it was the same impact. Like if you were to tell like a regular Joe on the street, they'd be like, Marvin Gaye died, dude. What do you care about this other thing? It'd be like, yeah, but this is part of my life, part of my childhood. Like he's gone now. He's gone. Yeah. Angela dipped out. She'll be back. But we got a few more people in the chat. We got Pedro in the chat. I saw who was it? Sumo? I think it was Sumo. Yes.
Yeah, I saw a Sumo in there.
I saw.
I see Pedro. Pedro's in there. What's up, Pedro?
Then we got that's who. So it was Dan Plagle. Yeah. Plagle.
Yep. So we saw Dan. We see.
Scrolling up. Oh, there's Angela.
What's up?
Paula
my guy Herb Dean. He's a big comic book guy, and he was a big Daredevil collector.
It was random task.
Kind of made me wish I was collecting Daredevil when I look back.
Yeah, I mean, you could kind of just buy them now, but it's not the same. Like in a way, it's not the same. Like I'm recently picked up like the Dark Phoenix sagas and stuff because I never could own them as a kid. I had read the trades and stuff, but never owned the originals. But now I'm like, I'm gonna get the original. Like it's not the same, but it's still nice to have them. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I got them, but like I got plenty of comics from when I was a kid or whatever that I've had for decades that I cherish more than some of the most valuable comics ever. Just because they were mine, like they were mine growing up. So yeah, but what we had is what we had though, and it had that impact on us. And like obviously all those things. What were you like mainly? I mean, you mentioned a wide variety of books. What was like your jam? What was your main thing? Yeah.
The Avengers, because I'll tell you, and the thing is like when I look back on it, it was kind of a no-brainer because at the time the artistic rotation on the Avengers was John Byrne and George Perez.
Ooh, yeah, you can't beat it.
I mean, you can't beat that with a bat. So I got into comics, and that was the artistic rotation on the book. And I'm just like, man, this is the stuff.
Yeah. And it still is. It still is. Like those are two giants that as artists go, like they're still looked at as being influences to people even like me. You know what I mean? So like they influenced a lot of art, like the 90s guys were influenced by Byrne and Perez. We're influenced by the 90s guys who were influenced by Byrne and Perez because we're influenced by Byrne and Perez and all those other great cats back then. I mean, it may not show, like it doesn't like look like we were, but we are. Like there's a little things that they did that we use and stuff like that. So that's a great team to have. And then Did you try to like draw? Were you like
Oh,
wanting to draw? Or
absolutely.
was it like mainly the writing thing, or like how did you gear
Man,
more towards the writing?
I was always making my own short stories. But a
Mm.
lot of the short stories I made, they would be comic book type strip stories. So I would make like Space Ghost stories.
Right, right.
I love
Nice.
Space Ghost. I was,
Space
I
Ghost was
love
dope, man.
Space Ghost was dope. So I'd make like Space Ghost stories. I'd make like, Hulk or Spider Man or Johnny Quest. So I mean, because those
Nice.
are the things that I really, really jived with. I really liked, those comics. I like those cartoons, and so it's like, this was so a Saturday would be for me like if I wasn't doing something, if I wasn't like playing soccer or something, I would like watch cartoons. Then once the cartoon window shut, I'd spend the remainder of the day making comics. I'd be writing, I'd be
Nice.
drawing, and me and my cousins, we would do that too. We would make comics, and it's just always a love for me. And comics really got me into reading because like I started off by buying the books and you flip through the books and you're just intrigued by the art and I'm like, man, but I'm gonna have to dig in and actually read if
Yeah.
I want to understand what's actually
Right.
happening in this book.
Well, and that's the thing. The art brings you in. The story keeps you there.
But this was the crazy thing. So I mean, because these comic book writers, I mean, they were true auteurs. I mean, it's like
Mm-hmm.
I would be there with a dictionary reading my comics.
Yeah, dude, I collected Thor. Thor was written in like a Shakespearean
Yeah.
dialect. So I'm sitting there reading like thou, these, hast thous, and all that stuff, and as like a little tiny kid, So
Yeah.
like they were for kids, but they weren't for kids. Like you know what I mean? Like it was. Is it like nowadays people kind of try to either play it down too much or they just
Yeah.
forget it altogether. So back then they had that perfect meld of just like you can be an adult or you can be a kid and read it, but like you said, you got to have a dictionary with some of it, and I did too. I did the same thing. I had to
And honestly,
look up words.
that's that's a little bit more of the direction I'm trying to go with my books. I'm trying to. I never want to dumb them down because it's comics is a left brain, right brain experience, and that's why it's. I've gone full circle. It started off as my favorite medium, and then like, yeah, it's cool. You want to see your favorite heroes made into other media. It's
Right.
fun. But then
Yeah.
you come back, and I realize there's no better experience
Mm-mm.
than the comic book experience.
Right.
Because it is a left brain, right brain experience. You have to be actively involved. It's like you're reading these characters, but it's like you have your own idea of what they sound like.
Yep.
You're filling in that, you've got these words, but you're the one filling in the motion and the action between panels.
Right.
So the artist hopefully is giving you these just awesome, you're getting like, if in this 30-second segment, you're getting like the awesome frame, like the coolest frame, and you're kind of
Yep.
filling in between frames. And it's like, I feel like a kid again when I read comics because like I get that experience. And I feel like I'm getting that again now with this whole comic book revolution, people making books that they love. You can always tell when somebody loves something or they don't.
Uh,
You can
exactly.
always tell if somebody loves the characters,
Yeah.
and like when you get to a point where people don't love the characters or it's just simply a stepping stone to do something else and they don't really care about that, it's so readily apparent. Or if people are writing because they're not trying to make comics, they're writing their comics like their TV shows, because they're trying to make a script for a TV show, which has a budget, which is like, hey, you can only have a certain amount of action, you can only have a certain amount of people, right? So people start making comics that way, and you're like, man, this junk is boring.
Yeah, it shows. Like I said earlier, it shows through in the end product. Like we were talking peanut butter and jelly. Like it just shows through. And if you don't love what you're doing, if you don't love the initial media that you're going for, it's going to show. It's like if somebody was initially like just a magazine writer and all of a sudden they're writing movies, it's not going to because they don't love it. It's going to show. It's going to show with these comics. Like that's what I tell everybody. Like I want to do comics. I love comics. I could care less about any of the other stuff. If somebody wants to option something, whatever, fine. That's not my goal. I don't even care. I'm not thinking of what's my next idea that I can get to hopefully become a Netflix series. That's not the way I think. I just think, man, this would be cool if this was if this would be cool. That's like the bar none bones to everything that I do is this story sounds dope to me. I hope everyone else is gonna like it. Like that's it. I'm not like, oh, this is cool. I guarantee you HBO is gonna love it. Like No, I'm thinking about the people that I'm going to reach and read to like the story that I have to tell. It's in this medium because I love this medium. I grew up with it. Reading all the stories,
Absolutely.
collecting, like it shows, you know? I mean, I'm a collector, yeah, but I've read 90% of the stuff that's back there. I mean, a lot of it, like, my eyes started going, so I couldn't read a lot of it. But, and you're the same way. You love this medium. You collected it as a kid. You had absorbed it. It became part of your life. Like, it's just part of you, and you want to tell these stories because you were influenced by these, so you want to influence other people with them. You want to bring stories of heroic tales and overcoming adversity and just the odds against you and just being a stronger individual, like stuff like that, a hero's journey or whatnot. You want to tell these tales are as old as time, like mythology and everything.
Absolutely.
Same thing. Like that's Magna. You had that. That's a epic like that.
Absolutely. And that's what, but at the end of the day, it's like, when people forget that this is basically, like you said, modern day mythology. This is basically, just it's entertainment, but it's also hope. When people forget that and they start, hey, you know what? I need to make sure I'm being written into these books in my experience. And I need to make sure that this is heard. It destroys the medium. Because what ends up happening is you're now writing, to your whatever it is you're lobbying for.
Right.
And we all have opinions on things. What I want to do is I want to create a world. I want to create things that are going on in that world. And you know what? You come to your own conclusions about, but for me, I want to have fun. I want to tell some fun stories.
And that's exactly the point too. Like the character itself is the character. Like, yeah, you're writing it, you created it, but he's got his own, or she's got their own personality, their own characteristics. They're not you. Like they are just because you came up with them, but eventually they become their own individual. Like you said, Vindicator's death impacted you because he was a person. It was a person like that, but somebody wrote that. Somebody came up with that idea, but it wasn't them, like the person who wrote it. It wasn't the person who wrote it. It was Vindicator. Like it was a totally different thing. It was an actual thing. These people have their own concepts and ideas, and even though we're writing them, it's like you would write like Thor wouldn't think that way. Not I think this way, so Thor's going to think this way. It's Thor wouldn't think that way. They're their own creations. They don't. They're if they have an agenda, it's because they had an agenda to begin with, or a political idea to begin with. It doesn't change because you changed. Like from bar none. Look at Captain America. He's always Captain America. And once they said, "Oh, he'll Hydra," everybody lost it because that's not Captain America.
Because Cap would die first.
Yeah, exactly.
Cap would die first. So when they start doing stuff like that, it turns you off. And then there's still some great mainstream stuff out there. There really is. Like not all of it is garbage, but when you hear stuff about like that, you get so turned off. Like, and that's just one example. You get so turned off that you're like, I don't want to collect any mainstream. And it's a shame because you do have a lot of great people that are making a lot of cool books that just don't get the attention because there's a lot of crap out there and they don't get their focus. So we're not mainstream, but we have that mindset that, look, yeah, we have ideas. We have people have no idea what my political standpoint is. And guess what? It doesn't matter what my political standpoint is. My religion does not matter at all. My opinions in those regards are not. You know what matters? Whether or not my book is cool, whether or not you like it, and whether or not it's a fun story that you can relate to on a level of characterization and in regards to that. I don't need to. I'm not a frog, but Frog G, you can probably relate to him, So right, exactly.
Like I collected Thor. I'm not a Norse god. I wish, but I'm not. But I can relate to some of the struggles and plights that he's gone through in life. Like you can relate to characters in that regard, just because they don't.
What it is with the characterization, you touch upon things that are fundamentally core to human beings.
Right.
I mean, people talk about Spider-Man. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Peter Parker will always be my Spider-Man. Peter Parker, Spider-Man was my favorite character growing up, and I love Peter Parker because I was like, man, I get this dude. You know what I mean? I know what it feels like, man. You're just like, man, you're feeling like you're not fitting in. you feel like you're out of place, and you even feeling like, man, I can't really show all that I can do. And you have these different characters, and what ends up happening is you realize that like there's a commonality. And it's a humanness to the characters. That's what draws you in. And even a character like Thor. I mean, a buddy of mine, Thor was just like the way I met him. We were in summer school between like first grade and second grade, and I'm wearing a Spider-Man shirt, and he just rolls up on me and just says like, Thor will beat Spider-Man up. I didn't know anything about Thor. I had no idea how many classes more powerful Thor was than Spider-Man, but man, I defended Spider-Boy.
Yeah, and you should. You should.
Like, oh, hell no.
Well, that's the great thing. You should, because like that's like Spidey's your dude, Thor's his dude. But then you get into the geek debate, like the huge, like power set, Thor's stronger, but speed, Spidey's quicker. Like I mean, intelligence. I think Spider-Man is way smarter than Thor, so but Thor is tactically better. Like you get into these nerd debates that just they bring us together, even though we argue and fight.
Because this is back when Thor had the alter ego, so I was like, man, I'll just make Thor hit that thing on the ground.
Oh, Don Simpson,
He'll turn into Dr. Blake, and I'll snap him like a twist.
Oh, Blake, that's it.
Yeah, he was, I'm like, Dr. Blake is lame.
Yeah,
literally.
Once his hammer's away from him for too long, he's screwed.
1 minute.
1 minute, he's done. So all Spidey's got to do is somehow keep him away from that, but Mjolnir returns to him. So like, there's all these debates that you could just like, and but here's the thing. This is where I don't understand. Like, we have these arguments, but we get along because of them. Like, they're not arguments, they're debates, and we get along because of them, because they bring us together. This is why I don't understand politics. Like, even though you have opposing views, nobody can come together and then they fight and hate each other. It's like, we like each other because we are arguing. Like, because we are interested in the same thing, we're passionate about it. It's that little niche that, like you said, it's not cool, really. Like, people, it blew up today, and there's those fake nerds out there like, oh, I like Eric Evans. It's like, no, that's not the comic stuff. Like, you don't get it. Like, you don't understand what it was like, and you don't understand, like, the love of it and the nerdery of it that really goes into it. It's like, I relate it to, like, football. I don't understand sports. I don't understand, but I do get the level of passion that they have for it, even though it's not my thing. Like, my mom's out there yelling at the TV right now because of sports. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, why? Like, yeah, you're not playing. You know what I mean? You're not getting paid to play, but you're still passionate about it, and people argue about sports, but they still come together. That's what I don't get. Like, why can't, like, I'm not saying everybody has to get along, and I understand, like, there's plenty of people I don't like, but nobody knows who they are because it's no one's business. But I don't talk to them, but even if we were to talk and I don't like them, we could still do this, like, have this little, like, Hulk and Wolverine argument, and be friends in that moment. Like, you know what I mean? It's a weird thing. It brings us together.
What you're talking about is something on a much larger scale. Because at the point when people can't agree to disagree, people will always be divided. Because at the end of the day, every one of us can go deep enough into our own thoughts, beliefs, philosophies, that we are actually isolated from everybody else. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like, I've been married for a long time, but there are things that my wife, thinks or that I don't.
Right.
And vice versa. And it's like, either you have to respect people and just say, like, you know what, you got that, that's you, or you're going to be, if I have to live in a world where everyone has to agree to me 100%, then I'm living in a bubble, because there's nobody.
Yeah, dude, I was in Discord with Billy, and we were just talking about peanut butter, and he's like, yeah, we were talking about Goober, peanut butter and jelly combo, and he was like, yeah, the consistency, people like their peanut butter and jelly. I'm like, yeah, dude, I like a lot of peanut butter. And he's like, yeah, well, he's like, my thing is I like creamy. I'm like, dude, I like crunchy. He's like, dude, we can't crunchy, and he's like, we can't be friends anymore. Like, he was joking, obviously, but that just goes to show you can disagree on things. Like, and that's a silly analogy with the peanut butter, but it's
crunchy
true.
Peanut butter.
Dude, crunchy's the best. I'm sorry. Like, it really is. Smooth, I don't get it. It's like you got to have that little crunch. And I like more peanut butter on my sandwich than I like jelly. So
that's how I make it.
Goober's amazing, though.
If the peanut butter isn't like isn't coming off the sides of the bread a little bit, you haven't done it. So like my kids, they want me to make the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because when my wife makes it, there's probably, I don't know, a couple millimeters like of bread around the side that have no peanut butter and no jelly.
No, you got to cover that thing, man.
See, mine is like you're pulling it out the bag and there's peanut butter and jelly smudged against the side of the bag.
Nice.
That's
a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was going to make this comment earlier, but I don't know now if it applies because I was thinking in regards to having differentiating opinions. I think it also has to do with maturity to be able to handle that. I think if you maybe are more isolated or not are brought up in a family where you kind of stick to whatever their beliefs are, you may, like later on, you don't have that capability of listening to another person and being like, oh, okay, your opinion's different, therefore. So I think that's a major part of that.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, actually. I mean, I don't know, are you an only child, John, or?
I am.
You are? Oh, well,
I mean,
but you obviously had enough friends to have a life experience.
I had cousins, I had close cousins.
Yeah, I think it's important to have stuff like that. Like you're saying, if you like kind of are in a bubble, even growing up, if you grew up in like isolation, like obviously that's going to matter. Things are going to, like I have brothers and sister and, so I mean, you kind of learn how to interact with humanity and be like, okay, you have your differences. I have mine. We're different people, but we can, like you were saying earlier, you're married for, however many years, and you learn to be like, okay, you like knitting and sewing. I like, collecting comic books. We have our little things, but at the same time, it's still a passion, and there's still, so you can relate to those, even those differences. You can relate, but the differences are what make us. It's like when we're drawing, people always say, keep the mistakes. Like if you make a mistake, that's good because you're identifiable by those mistakes, and that's what makes you unique. So your differences make you unique, and you want to be friends and hang out with different people. You want to interact with different people. I don't want to interact with somebody that's always the same opinions as me. That's boring. I don't want a yes man or a yes woman. I want somebody. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm always right, but I want somebody that'll like be like this. I'm always right. Ask anybody. But no, yeah, I want those.
We have the bigger issue. I mean, I feel like is like kids have and a lot of the young adults have not learned how to disagree. I mean, whether you like it or not, when I grew up, you have a disagreement with a kid, you probably got punched in the eye, got punched in the mouth. You go home, first thing mom or dad say, okay, well, what did you say?
Yep.
Okay, well then what happened? Okay, well then, so you got to figure it out. So you start realizing, is it good for Jimmy just to pop you in the eye? No, it's not good. But you also learn a level of respect. Okay, I'm not going to just pop off of the mouth like that next time I see Jimmy.
Right.
You learn something. But what ends up happening is if we live in this culture where it's like, well, if there's any fighting, then we're just going to expel everybody. But you're not teaching people how to deal with anything.
Right.
Kids aren't learning how to deal with disagreeing with each other. So it's like, okay,
yeah. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, not only that, we have the age of technology where somebody disagrees with you, you're like, screw you, just hit the block button. You know what I mean? You don't even bother hearing anything out or worrying about a different opinion that you can maybe be like, oh, well, maybe that's a good point. I'll try to think in that regard. And like, I still don't like it, but I'll try to. You just be like, oh, you have a different viewpoint than I do. Just, block. That's the same thing that goes with CG. Like, people have we're CG, but I'm kind of. Like, our CG is different than what main CG was, in my opinion. Like, I just want to do cool comics and have fun with the fans. And, like when CG first started, it was, like, a political thing, I think. But still, we're a different kind of CG in a way, but we instantly get, like, all of CG, we get blocked. The second somebody's like, oh, I'm CG, you get labeled a label, and so you get blocked. Nobody wants to hear anything and be like, no, look, this is what I stand for. They just instantly be like, oh, you're under this umbrella or you're under this thing, you're independent, or even if you're not CG or you hang out with the people that are Comicsgate, or you're just independent, I don't want to talk to you, or you think you're Republican, I'm a Democrat, block. Like, we're in the age of blocking, and kids these days have that mindset that, look, I'm online, I'm not in person, I can't get punched in the face, so I'm just going to block you anyway.
And even if it's just like legitimate criticism, like criticism that is meant to help you. I'll give you an example of that. The first time I ever got engaged with CG, somebody told me I realized this whole thing was going on, and I was like, man, I'd really like to see if I could start moving my comics. And a buddy of mine's like, well, don't be a part of them. I was like, why? He's like, I don't know why, but you just shouldn't. So I'm like, that's not going to fly. And he's like, oh, you know, this guy, that guy. So what I did was I reached out to, he's like, oh, this guy, John Malin. So I reached out to Malin. And Malin had me on his show. And I had a Kickstarter. And he basically kind of explained to me why people probably aren't going to back me on Kickstarter. And then he went through my campaign, because it was the first campaign I had set up. And he really kind of schooled me on things I'd done wrong in setting it up. And this was the weird thing. So like, I'm taking notes because dude is giving me an education. People in the chat are like, oh, John's getting roasted. Oh, Malin is tearing this dude apart. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, he's
helping you
information so that I can make my campaign better. How's that? How am I getting roasted? I was just like, I don't know what your chat's talking about, bro. But keep talking, because I ended up changing up my campaign, and I ended up by the skin of my teeth making my number that I was trying to get to for my campaign. My campaign launched, and there was no movement. So I was just like, I need to do something. Yeah. You know, it's like, I get it. Sometimes people say things and it rubs you the wrong way, but it's just like, you know, come on, people. You know, it's funny. I saw something up here from Henry. He said the first time I got hit in school, my dad's reaction was to show me how to throw a punch. Well, Henry, the only time I got spanked by my dad was I went to school. I let this kid punked me around and punched me a couple times, and I didn't do anything. I went home and I told my dad spanked me. And he told me, listen, if you're not going to defend yourself, he's like, you are going to get bullied.
Yeah.
All the time. So like, I went to school the next day, and this is like, I'm a very calm guy. I went to school and I rolled up on that guy. I lit him up. The principal called me into the office and he's like, oh, you know, she's like, I'm going to get your parents, blah, blah, blah. And my dad showed up, which is he never shows up. It would always be my mom. So then he's like, he told the principal, let me talk to my son. I'll take care of this. So she stepped out and he said, good job. That guy won't mess with you again. You know, don't be somebody that's instigating things, but make sure you protect yourself.
Right. And see, there you go. That's the whole thing. You're not going to roll up on just some random kid or dude or anything and just start beating him up. Like, you're not, you know what I mean? Like, you don't do that. You just don't go out and cause trouble for no reason. No. Like, it makes no sense. It doesn't help anyone. It's not productive. And people shouldn't be doing it to you as well. Like, I mean, it just goes vice versa. But I guess if somebody's physically after you, in my opinion, yes, obviously defend yourself. To me, like an online thing, I usually just ignore it, because I just like, if you're gonna talk smack, then you have anger issues you got to deal with, buddy, or girl. Like, I'm not gonna get involved. Like, I'm just not. I got more in my life to deal with than, you know, typing on a social media platform.
And we have to learn how to live together. I mean, like even with the situation with that kid, we actually became cool later because we're going to the same school. Yeah. You know, we're not gonna just keep beating each other's asses. Right. Every day, you know, it's like you get to a point where it's like, okay, you rolled me up, I rolled you up, we're good. You know, let's put this behind us and let's keep moving forward. But the problem is when people don't deal with stuff, they're like, you know what, I'm gonna shoot some darts at somebody, then I'm gonna block them, so I get the last word.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, getting back into the thick of things, like whenever you're writing, what do you do? Like, what's your method? Do you put on music? Do you just like blank screen it, go typewriter? What do you do?
You know, any and all of that. I mean, I feel like I'm always in some mode of writing. So like, I keep a notebook with me all the time. Sometimes I drive my wife nuts, so I keep a notebook by the bed, because at first I would keep the laptop and I keep popping it up and, you know, and clicking on the keys, and she's just like, here's a nightlight, write down whatever ideas you need, and if you need to, get out the room and go do it, you know, go. Right. So like, I'll get up and I'll write an idea, because sometimes ideas will just come to me in the night. And then I have like a sheet of ideas, like a spread, like a word sheet that I keep with different ideas. And then I'm not full like beautiful mind, but I kind of have a map of different things that I'd like to see progressively with my different characters. So like Black Tiger right now, we're actually 12 issues in. So if you get this volume 2, you'll be picking up basically the equivalent of 325 plus page issues of Black Tiger that conclude that 6-issue story arc. So right now there are 2 6-issue story arcs that are completed for Black Tiger, and next we're going into another story arc. So part of and the thing is, I'm also keeping my ear to the ground, because like everything I've written so far have pretty much been 6-issue story arcs. And one of the things that I'm liking, like I'm reading of course I'm reading other people's books,
right?
And so I've been reading Pete Sametti's King Cryptid. One of the things I like about King Cryptid is that every issue, and other books have done this in the past. I mean, like Dave Lapham was a master of doing this, like in Stray Bullets. Every issue is kind of self-contained, so it's telling you a particular story, but it's part of a bigger mosaic. So like the way Dave Lapham would do it is he'd give you an issue, and this issue may happen in 1980, and particular characters, things are going on, and it gives you a complete story. Then he has something else that happens in 1977. Boom, and there's some connectivity. So you can read that in and of itself and get a story. But then you also, if you've got the other stuff, you're actually getting pieces to a bigger puzzle.
Right.
So I'm thinking of, I've got these stories that I want to tell. I don't think I can really boil them down. I may have to boil them down into 2-issue segments, but where I can start telling segments of stories that will give people a broader view of the world without it having to be a full 6-issue epic. If that makes sense.
Well, I mean, that's how they did it back in the day, though. They did like single issues for an overarching theme. Like it wasn't like usually it was just one story on the book, but like Peter Parker struggles through high school. Like that's kind of an overarching theme, and then how's he getting, like in the Spider-Man stuff, how's he going to do this, that, while getting good grades in school? Like there's an overarching theme that happened throughout all the books, but each issue is like, oh, but now he's got to fight the Vulture, and in this issue, and get good grades. Like, I mean, each one still had its own little unique story that you can just pick it up at any point in time and read, and that's. I mean, honestly, I feel that would be very hard for me to write, I think. So kudos to those who can do it. I kind of just think, oh, here's my story. It's gonna fit in 3 books. It's gonna fit in 2, 1. Like I don't know. So you can do it. That's awesome.
I'm not saying I can pull it off. I'm thinking about it.
You can pull it off. Come on, man. Say you can. You can do it. Yeah. So
I can do it.
I can do it. What kind of music do you listen to? What's your jam?
Man, I listen to music all the way across the board. So it's like if you're looking for, I'm the black guy that likes Journey.
All right.
Nice.
So I'm that guy.
You're that guy.
So I'll listen to a lot of oldies. I'll listen to like some Motown. I love listening to like Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Nice.
When I'm creating. I told you I like Journey. Genesis. Love me some Phil Collins.
Phil Collins is good, yeah.
Yeah, and so I like to. I don't know. I think a lot of that is for me is just because it just kind of takes me back to just the pure love. I mean, just when comics were, there was nothing else but just you read comics and you have the awe and the love of comics, and you pick the book up and you're just like, man, what is going to happen in this issue? I've been waiting 30 days, from the last issue to see what's going to happen here.
Yeah, and that's why you collect multiple titles too, though. That way you get something every week rather than just waiting a month for like each thing. But do you tend to? Yeah, I mean, we all did that. But do you listen to music while you're writing with like words? Because for me, it throws me off. I can't do it. Are you able to doing that?
It depends. So like sometimes I'll listen to jazz, and if I'm listening to music, and if I'm listening to music with words, it depends on where I'm at. So if I'm doing kind of like high level world building, I'm actually okay with the words. So if I'm putting just kind of like high level ideas together, but if I'm digging into a script, if I'm listening to stuff with words, I've either got the music down very low, so it's almost like a white noise in the background, or I'm listening to something that's more like a jazz. That's just, where I can just like go with the flow and write. But I love having music on. I know some people like having shows on. I can never have like.
I can't do that.
I can never have like shows on.
Dude, I was trying to watch a show last night as a series on Netflix. I was trying to watch it while I was working on a commission piece. I'm because I'm watching the show. I want to watch the show. I want to see what's going on. And like 5 minutes I'll draw, and then like a half hour I'll watch the show. I'm like, this is not productive, you know, because I'm a visual guy. I want to see, even though I can hear everything that's going on. I want to see the suspense. I want to see what's going on. I want to see, even if it's comedy or whatever, I want to see it. Even movies I've seen a million times. My brother, he used to put on the Lethal Weapon trilogy and just start drawing. I'm like, even though I've seen those a million times, I want to watch them. Like, they're on. I want to watch them.
What do you do when you have writer's block?
So I never have writer's block, but sometimes what I write is really crappy. So I'm going to write. It may really suck, but I've never been to a place where I just couldn't write. But I've been to a place where I'm like, what I'm writing is not great, but I'm gonna write this out. And then it's kind of like pulling peanuts out of poop. You know what I mean? Sometimes you find little nuggets in that stuff, you know. And sometimes
you're like corn. Just saying.
Sometimes it's just poop. Though. There's not even.
Sometimes it's just poop. There's nothing you can do about it. Dude, yeah. Well, like people get mad at me when I rip something up. I'm like, but I hated it. I'm like, I don't want it to exist anymore. It's like, because that's the poop. You know, there might have been a nut in there, and I remember it, but I can't erase the entire thing, and just because it's in ink, I can't get rid of it. So I'll remember what I did like, and I'll duplicate that, but I'll make the whole piece, you know, a little better than feces. But you know what's not poop, though? What's not poop is Black Tiger Hidden Dragon 2, everybody.
That's right. That is not poop.
That is not poop, everybody. Tell us, Mr. Hervey, about Black Tiger Hidden Dragon 2.
Oh, man. I'm so excited for this story. So, I mean, this is picking up right where Volume 1 left off. And, you know, like I said, this is the equivalent of, you know, kind of issues 10, 11, and 12. If you had like a long, like if you had treated all the books as one series. So I'm able to really hit the ground running. There is a ton of action. For those of you that know me, you know that I love fight choreography as I kind of unravel the stories. So in here, you know, you've got Jen Fong, who's an assistant DA. She is on a quest. And it's a quest that started back at the end of Legacy of Fury, where she has now inherited the powers of the Black Tiger. It's been in her family for 3 generations. And at this point, the name of the Black Tiger has been defamed. Her father, who was a cop, is posthumously defamed. So, you know, she is looking to redeem the name of her family. She's looking to redeem the name of the Black Tiger. And with the Black Tiger's absence in the city, there's been a giant void, and the city's at war. So you have these different contingents. So you have the Organizatia, which are they're the Russian mob, but they're ex-KGB and they're bionic. You have the Metahuman Activity Division, which is basically the police, but the police they're underfunded, so they get privatized, and they develop basically a whole bunch of gear where they can take care of metahumans. You know, so but then, you know, their privatization that has its own costs. So they find themselves on missions that have things to do with more than just justice. And then you have a very Morlock style metahuman contingent in the city that's really starting to insurge, you know, really starting to rise up against what's kind of going on in the city. So you have all this bedlam. And in the middle of it, you have Jen Fong, who is new to being the Black Tiger. And aside with holding her personal life and trying to hold these other elements together, she realizes that she's got a bigger purpose. And that's really, really, you know, becoming the linchpin to keeping the city from falling apart.
Nice. What kind of powers does the Black Tiger have?
So the Black Tiger, and the way the power manifests, this is a power that it's a generational power. So, you know, dating back from ancient times. So if you look in this book, you'll see, you know, ancient Mayan references. There's a whole section that is a kind of a flash that, you know, happens in kind of ancient Mayan civilization. You see a flashback to feudal Japan, and with her, the power is manifest in super strength. Think of Spider-Man-ish type abilities without the sticking, and super martial arts ability. You know, one of my big influences are old Hong Kong movies.
Nice.
Because fundamentally, those guys, they were as close as we had to live action superheroes back in the day.
Yep.
You know, I mean, these guys would, you know, jump 30 feet in the air, do flying kicks where they go like, you know, 10 yards, and being able to, you know, for her power, let me just put it this way, her power manifests through martial arts. But she's starting to learn more things about what the power really is and other ways that the power can manifest.
Nice. How many no, what? No. What were you gonna say?
No, I just said she's on a journey.
Oh, nice. Yeah, hero's journey. How many pages are we looking at on this cat?
88. 88 pages for this volume.
And you have Rod Looper back?
That's my man.
That's your man. Rod Looper's a beast, man.
Rod, and he's getting better and better and better. And he's had his hand on this whole property gets heavier and heavier. So I mean, like, so much of what we're seeing in there, like the whole thing with the ziggurat and, you know, the ancient Mayan culture, the things that are going on in feudal Japan with these, you know, goblin warlock and goblin samurai. A lot of that was, you know, things that he wanted to implement, and they played into the history of the Black Tiger. So what we're starting to do now is we're starting to unravel the power of the Black Tiger, the power of this red dragon that you see represented here, and it's just a fun ride.
So this story takes place over many periods of time, not just in one sect.
That's right. So think of it as Jin Fong. Part of her power that she's starting to realize is she has the ability to see things through the eyes of prior wielders of the power. Ooh. So you're learning as she's learning. So as she's learning things about the Black Tiger, about this red dragon opponent that she's facing, you're learning it alongside her.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
I like that. So you get to see different. Oh, go ahead, Angela. No, ask you.
Oh, no. You get. This is not related. So go on.
No. I was.
No. Okay. I don't want to interrupt him going over the actual story, but Henry Bemis had a question regarding the description. It says 10 by 8 or by 10 and 8 by 6 by 8 is the digest size.
It's pretty close to,
or is it normal
pretty
size?
Close to normal size.
Yeah, it's close to normal
size. It's pretty close.
Yeah,
that's not exactly, but it's pretty close to normal comic size.
Pardon me.
Yeah.
The last one had a hardcover to it, right? Because I got the hardcover.
So man, let me tell you, so many people have wanted me to bring that hardcover back.
It's expensive.
And man, every time, and Eric the Guapo gets at me every time. But you know what? That was a great experiment, and you know, hold on to that thing because it's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be doing a hardcover anytime. You need a different critical mass of people that are people that are backing you to make that something that is viable. I did that because I'm a nerd and I wanted it, so I made it available to others.
Nice.
But my wife is just like, you are absolutely subsidizing this thing, John.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. I said, but look at this. This is the first time we put this campaign out here. These people are willing. They don't know me from Adam. They're willing to back the book. I was like, if they want a hardcover, I will give them this hardcover.
Hey, yeah, kudos on you for that, man. Like, even whenever I saw it, I'm like, how does he have a hardcover? I mean, is he insane?
Insane.
He's a madman. I'm like, yeah, but
man.
Yeah, and like I said, Rod Looper was on that one, and I've seen his stuff just grow. And like this is amazing work he has here. Who's the colorist?
The colorist is Vinicius Townsend. Now, if you pan in on any of the colors, I mean, when we talk about peanut butter and jelly, Okay.
Yeah, look at this.
I mean, you've got Rod's line work, but if you look at the shading, just take a page like that. Look at the shading.
Yeah.
Look at the detail. I mean, like, masterful. Absolutely. So I mean, it's like Vinicius is a dude that is way underrated. I mean, I know he's doing like some work for like Dynamite and stuff like that, but I'm expecting him to start getting a lot more work as well because he's amazing.
Yeah, this is good stuff, man. It's really high quality. This is comics. Like this is what a quality comic looks like. The love of the stories is in it. Let's go over some of the tiers.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to tell me what's in the tiers because, as you know, Jason is the most blind guy on the planet. Well, not really.
I got you.
Feature
Most
tier.
blind guy in CG. How's that?
Yeah, blind guy in CG because Fanta has me beat. I think as far as
we know. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, she's a girl, so last I found out.
Oh,
But,
that's right. Oh,
yeah, I'm the most blind guy in CG. But anyway, feature tier. I like that you have one because that directs people to like, look, this is the best bang for your buck. If you want to really just get in on what you get in, get the feature tier. What do we got?
So we have a cover by Rini, and the thing is,
I
this cover.
remember that.
Yeah, the thing is, this is in another week, people are going to see the colors that go along with that cover. So if you look on your screen in the middle there, the volume 1 cover, the guy who digitally colored that is coloring the cover that Rini drew.
Nice.
It is going to be spectacular.
Who's coloring it?
So he goes by Articida, like Articide. Articida 1. So you can find him on Insta. And his name is Charles. You can find him on Insta and you can find him on Twitter at Articida 1. The dude he's a sweetheart of a dude. He's super nice and he's an amazing artist. He's actually an amazing line artist too. So
people sometimes forget a lot of the colorists out there actually are line guys too. Like they're really talented. Yeah. And Irene, I mean, I can't say enough about that. So I mean, she's a powerhouse. She's amazing, and everyone go subscribe to Irene, and because Fiendish 2.5 is going to be coming out soon. You don't want to miss it.
No, exactly. You want to grab a hold. I think that's releasing or the campaign's launching next week.
I think next week. I knew it was launching September. I thought she said.
This week because I guess this week because it's already Sunday. So this week.
Well, there you go. Yeah, everybody go subscribe to Irene. We love Irene. She's a friend.
She's awesome.
She's awesome. What do we got next?
So those are digital options.
Nice.
So for the web options, my website beyondtimecomics.com.
Link is in the description below.
Yep, that's where people read. You're able to go to read. Your digital subscriptions.
Nice.
So this is basically access to all 12 issues between these three offerings right here.
Great tier for like Australian people, especially because shipping to Australia is like $423 or something like that. So
it's crazy, man.
It's
on the money.
It's all the money,
yeah.
and it's crazy expensive. So if you're Australian and you really love want to support John, go ahead and back this one. What's this one?
So those are still web reader. So if you go down, that's a web reader. That's so go down to the next one. Did we pass Rini's cover? Oh, we already was featured. So that's a Looper cover. Ooh, so Rod Looper has a cover.
As he should, yeah.
As he should. And this is so one of the things about the book is if you've been reading up until this point, you saw the 5 Fingers of Death introduced. You saw them beating up the Bionic Russians, and this is where the rubber really hits the road, where Black Tiger and her other nemesis Onryu end up fighting the 5 Fingers of Death, and it is a knockdown, drag-out fight.
Nice.
So
we like drag-out fights. They're fun.
And this has been called the Put 'em on Glass cover. This is kind of a riff off of what happens in the book. So she's on the front of that Ferrari, pressed up against it.
Nice. I like it. I like it
a lot.
I like it a lot.
And then for those of you that did not pick up Volume 1, You can get volume 1 with the painted looper cover.
And this one is soft cover, right?
The soft cover. So everything going forward, brother, until
I know.
this is soft cover.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to keep your costs up. You know what I mean? You got to keep your costs effective. Yeah. So you don't wanna do what you do. I love that hardcover book. Don't get me wrong, but I get where you're coming from, man.
Yeah. My wife will not allow it.
Yeah, you got to listen to the wife, dude.
She will not allow me to do that again. And then that's the Legacy of Fury cover. That's a Greg Horn cover.
Ooh,
on that. It's 172 pages because that's one complete story arc.
Wow. That's
so
insane.
you get a lot of Black Tiger.
A lot of content there.
Absolutely.
Oh wow, 35. That's a really crazy price. That's a good price.
And then beyond the books, there's a lot of pencil pages from Rod and inked pages from Rod that are available. Because I mean, as an artist, I mean, it's like you've got your page rate on books, but it's like if you really want to give these artists a lift, buy their original art.
Yeah, and honestly, dude, I've seen Rod stuff go for way more than this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a win-win.
This
enables folks to
affordable.
Yeah. This enables folks to get the stuff they want.
With the original art tiers, do you get the book also?
The book is an add-on.
The book's an add-on. Okay.
So the book is an add-on if you want it. But with the art tiers, you'll just be getting, in this case, pencil pages, and then further down there are some penciled and inked pages.
Wow, you got the kitchen sink on this.
Very nice.
Just wanted to make it available. I mean, it's
no, it is smart to make it available because I mean, there are like not everybody can afford them, and I mean, I get it too. I understand. I have it on my campaign. Not everybody can afford the original art, but those who can, they want it. You know what I mean? They want to collect it,
right.
Especially somebody like Rod, who is just like I said. I've seen his pages go for way more. So this is a crazy deal.
Well, the thing is, we're gonna put them here. And then if they don't go here, they're going to go to a Shea and Size auction. And I guarantee you, they go to Shea and Size auction, these pages go for 1,000.
They do. Yeah, they do. Like I said, I've been on auctions with Rod, and it just blows me away every time I see his stuff. And every cent is more than worth it. The man is a phenom.
Is this the same Rod that worked with Matt Bancroft, Michael Bancroft?
Yeah.
Yeah,
same guy.
Yeah, but John found him first.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
that's how
Bancroft's trying to headhunt all of John's talent. Yeah.
Darn Matt Bancroft.
As long as the guys will still work with me, good for them to get more work. And get some more exposure as well. But
yeah,
I told Rod, I was like, don't diss me, man.
Yeah,
now that you're making it big, don't diss me.
Yeah, you got a lot of original art, and as you said, now except for original art, is everything an add-on? Like all the covers and everything, you get all as an add-on?
Absolutely.
Nice.
So, and the other thing to know that if you purchase one cover, the other covers, all the covers are on the inside
that's cool.
As a gallery. Because my thought process is, if you're going to buy the book, buy the different covers because you want the book that way, but don't feel like I don't want anyone to feel like they're missing out. It's like, man, I bought this book and I don't get this.
Cool.
I don't get this cover as well.
No, that's a really good idea. Thanks for making all of us look like chumps. Everybody, go pick up Black Tiger too. If you missed out on the first one, it's there. You can add it on checkout and get the complete insane volume. So how many pages overall is 1 and 2?
Almost 350 pages. So
that's a crazy amount of content, everyone.
That's
a crazy amount. Yeah.
It's a lot of Black Tiger goodness.
And honestly, if you were to buy each one of those individually, it would cost you way more than what you're offering here. So it's a steal with what you're going to get. If they were like 24-page issues, forget about it. Like this thing would you'd be paying an arm and a leg. But you're not if you back it here. And if you picked up the first one already, you're in luck because you just need to back the second one.
If they're like you and they got the first one in hardback, they're really bad.
That's right. That's mine now. That's all mine. Yeah, everybody, link is pinned to the top of the chat as well as in the description below. We're on Facebook. Thank you for watching on Facebook. I don't know where it is on Facebook, but please click him. Go check out his campaign. Yeah, John's a cool guy. He's a good dude. Yeah, because we're at the top of the hour here now, my friend. It flies by so fast. Angela, do you have any questions? Does the chat have any questions?
I do not see any other questions in the chat.
I have a last one.
Yeah,
so
it looks fabulous. But yeah, no, this is awesome. And definitely, I missed out on the first opportunity to buy it, so I look forward to backing it. So
yeah, it's really good. Really phenomenal stuff. John is
appreciate
a talent.
that, guys.
Yeah, man. So my last question for you, sir. If you could work with anybody, living or dead, who would it be?
John Byrne.
I love it. Nice. Can't go wrong with that answer.
Let me tell you something. People are always like, oh, he's a curmudgeon or whatever. I don't care, man.
Dude, all right. I
don't care.
I met Byrne. I have several books signed by Byrne. You know what he did? He signed my book and then he gave it back to me. Like, it's like, that's what, like, I didn't get an attitude or anything. I'm like, he did his job. He's like, he signed my book. He was, to me, that's friendly enough. I was a kid. He, like, I don't know what else people are expecting. Like,
he wasn't like, hit the road, kid.
No, he was just like, he just signed it. And I had a bunch of books, too. I kept going back to him. He didn't care.
Yeah.
So, everybody has that, like, and I get it. Some people are, like, kind of, like, a little grumpier at them. But it's John Byrne, so what? And honestly, the dude keeps his head down. He just does his thing. I admire that, actually. I respect it. So
that's it.
Yeah, that's, you don't hear him trash talking people. You don't hear him out there in the mainstream like, oh, geez, so bad. Like, you don't. He's just there. He did his stuff. He did his due diligence. So I am a John Byrne fan, and I like that answer.
Henry was saying about the John Byrne FF. So where I'm at right now is I'm basically buying all these things that I already have. I'm getting them in graphic novel form because none of my books are pristine because I read them too much.
Yeah.
So it's like they're like falling apart. So like I've been getting the Visionary series, John Byrne Visionaries from Fantastic Four. And it's the collection of his years with a Z run in the Fantastic Four. I've been picking those up. I've been picking up other books that I already have. I mean, it's good stuff. I mean, you go back and you're just like, man, this is how comics should be.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. You can't go wrong with John Byrne. X-Men, all of it. You can't go wrong with what he did. Influence to a lot of us. Thank you again, John, for coming on. And Angela, thank you for co-hosting. To the chat, thank you so much for showing up. Everybody on Facebook, appreciate you there.
People are showing up last minute too. So hey, everyone, thanks for listening.
Yeah, we tried to get those stragglers at the end of the hour. What's up, Shelby?
And so did there you go. And so did Matt Barr. He's here too.
Yeah, what's up, Barr?
Hey, what's up, Matt? What's going on?
Cool. Thanks to everybody coming on and jumping in the chat and everything like that. And they might have been lurking. You never know. Yeah. So, once again, we appreciate y'all and have a great one, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.